to the Equestrian Experience, a show where we talk about what happens behind the rosettes and what we've tried so that you don't have to. In a world first, we and our guests openly share what we know from our extensive equestrian experience. This includes exclusive access to our global experts such as high-performance national vets, coaches, farriers, and even brands. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. We're your hosts, Amanda Ross and Bex Mason, and today we have as our wonderful guest leading hairstylist Joh Bailey. Welcome, Joh, and hi again, Bex. How are you guys?
Good. Hello, Joh.
Hello. Hi. I'm so excited to be here with you girls.
We're so excited to have you on.
Beaming in from the Cotswolds of all places, my favourite place on earth.
I know. Well, I am biased to the Cotswolds too, I have to say. But on all the places in the world, for you to say where I live is one of your most favourite places, then that just fills me with pride.
Oh, good.
It is genuinely the most gorgeous place, Bex. It's right. Joh, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. And we just wanted to ask you a few questions. So aside from being an amazing hairstylist, you've got such a connection with horses. So where did you first realise that you had this love for horses, and was there a moment that stands out to you?
Look, there are a couple of moments. I think the first thing that stood out to me about horses was the smell of them. And the first time I met a horse, and I vividly remember it, I just remember thinking, this is me. Like there's something about this whole thing that makes me, feel complete, I suppose. But I wasn't thinking that as a 4-year-old boy, but in retrospect, that's how I felt. And not long after that, my parents took me to the Royal Easter Show. And there's lots of show horses there. And I vividly remember seeing children my age on ponies with black feet and plaits and ribbons. And I just thought, right, that's me. This is what I'm doing.
Just the show horses, like totally spruced up, looking beautiful.
Oh,
sorry.
So my parents weren't horsey. We lived just in a suburban house, although we were sort of close to acreage. And the girl that lived 2 doors up from me, she was having riding lessons. So I started going with her just to watch. And then I convinced my parents into buying me some for I think it was my 9th or 10th birthday. They bought me 5 each, 5 from mum, 5 from dad. And I remember dad saying, you'll be sick of it by the time these 10 lessons are over.
And that wasn't true.
And here we are.
Absolutely. And when did you start competing, and what drew you to the show horses and the showing scene?
Oh, okay. So after those 10 lessons, I got a job at the same riding school cleaning out boxes every weekend, and I did them all weekend for 2 lessons, like one on Saturday, one on Sunday. But, I was literally digging out boxes, as a 10-year-old boy. And just as it would happen, the riding school yard that I was part of, their sort of tilt was show horses. But I still say it came from that day at Sydney Royal when I saw the glossy feet and the plaits and thought, I want all this.
Yeah, fantastic.
But my sort of obsession with beauty and making things pretty, and show horse just feeds into every aspect of what makes me, because it's all in the preparation. It takes months to prepare a show horse for that one event. And see, I love all that, the lighting, the rugging, the dyeing, the clipping, I've worked on international fashion shows for like Gucci and Yves Saint Laurent and Giorgio Armani, and preparing a horse is pretty much like preparing a supermodel.
I love that thought of the comparison.
Yeah. And especially with the show hacks, there's so much that goes into their beautiful presentation, isn't there? I was wondering, you were saying that it was the smell that attracted you. Maybe we should, have you ever thought about bottling the smell of the horse and putting that into a new shampoo or something?
OD horse shit.
Yeah. Oh, fabulous. Now, when you were younger, I believe that your mum passed away from breast cancer, and we all know that horses can be so therapeutic at times. Did you find having horses in your life that were very helpful for you during this time?
Oh, look, 100%, because, I think I was about 16 or 17. Well, I was about 16 or 17. And, at least I had something to sort of, cling on to, something that I love, something that I was passionate about, because I suppose that's a time in your life where you're sort of on a bit of an edge and you could go either way, I had the horses, it could have been drugs, I suppose, if, not that they were on offer or anything, but, that's around that time where you can either make it or break it, I suppose.
Yeah,
of course.
Absolutely,
Of course.
absolutely. And then your dad was there raising 4 young kids, and was he supportive of you continuing to ride?
No.
Oh, really?
In a word.
No, he really wasn't. He couldn't believe that my brother just had one cricket bat and a ball, and I had to have a horse, a saddle, a stable, a trailer, He would
And all the
much
things to
prefer
make it
if I
beautiful.
just played cricket.
I think that
He didn't help me at all, ever. Not financially, he just wasn't interested in it. I mean, he would drive me up there. That's about the extent of his. But I just made it happen. I rode for other people. I don't think I owned my own horse until I bought it myself after I started my hairdressing apprenticeship.
Really?
Oh, really? Wow,
So you
that's
mostly,
very interesting.
yeah. So you just rode for other people and just basically
I
fueled your
rode
own
for other
passion.
people. Yeah, and look, with hacks, and it's still like this today, there are plenty of adults who own show horses, but they're ponies and they want them ridden by children. So there's always an opportunity for someone with a little bit of talent to ride probably much better horses than I would ever have been able to afford myself.
Well, that is a good opportunity, isn't it? And then you were talking about you
Yeah.
didn't buy a horse till after your hairdressing career. At what stage did you find that the horses drifted from your life and you went from that horsey stage into the hairdressing?
Well, I started my apprenticeship when I was 18, and I pretty much gave up horses then and there because, it was such an all-consuming job. And I sort of, I just moved out of home, and everything was very exciting. I was meeting new people, So I have that sort of thing. If I'm not doing it 100%, I don't want to do it at all. Like, I didn't want to sort of keep a finger in each thing. So I went the hairdressing route at first and threw myself into that. And, as time went on, I realised that there was something missing, and it was the horses.
Right. So you say it was 18 years old when you decided to go into the hairdressing and
Yes.
stop doing your horses.
Yeah.
But obviously you've talked about like the show ring and how doing up the show hunters, that was appealing to you. Do you think that is what influenced you to go into the hairdressing?
Well, yes, I think so. They are kind of similar things. When I went for my first job interview, they asked me if I had any experience, and I said, I can plait horses' manes really well, and I can braid tails, and I can groom a horse. And I think that's what got me the job, to be honest.
Yeah.
Are you an
And
amazing
that's the
tail
only sort of
braider?
hair experience I had.
Are you an incredible tail braider? Are they on
Of course
point?
he is. Of course he is.
Not one hair out of place.
I bet there isn't. I bet yeah, of course there would not be. Do you know who you're speaking to, Amanda? Of course there would not be. What about at the very beginning, Joe? When you were apprenticed hairdressing, was there any massive fails that you can tell us about? Like funny stories? We've all had them when we're learning.
Yes. Well, look, I had massive fails in both the horses and the hairdressing in my early days.
Great to hear.
The one that sticks out, I was an apprentice hairdresser, and perms were quite big then. And when you do a perm, there's quite a process of rinsing and blotting and putting different chemicals on to form the curls and everything. And there was a girl who was a top model at the time, came in for her perm, and the colorist wrapped up all the hair in the perm rods and put the solution on. It's my job to go to the basin and rinse it and then put the stuff that sets it on. It's called a neutralizer. And I forgot to put the neutralizer on, and the rods just started falling into the basin with her hair wrapped around. It just broke all off at the roots.
Her hair disintegrated at the roots?
Yeah.
This is a supermodel. Oh my
my God.
That's not a little mistake either, is it?
No. Needless to say, I didn't have that job for very much longer.
That is hilarious. A hair-larious?
Oh, that's hilarious.
And the first show I went to, the first horse show I went to, I borrowed a piebald Shetland from someone's back garden who lived in our area. I just found it in their garden, asked if I could take it. And I rode it to the showground, and they had an Alsatian dog, and it followed us the whole way. And when I went into the classes, I had the dog was sort of cantering around beside me.
Round as you. It's a double show.
Yeah, I couldn't get rid of it all day.
And they didn't miss their animals?
God, that's so funny.
Oh, no, I asked if I could take the horse. The dog just came for the ride.
The dog just came. Nice.
And those probably weren't my best plats. They were like the size of tennis balls because it had a really long, thick mane. Anyway.
Oh, that is brilliant. That is brilliant.
Have you ever had a false tail fall out in the ring?
I have. I actually have. In Champion Hack at Sydney Royal, and I put it in myself. It was a weighted one, and I didn't take enough hair out of the real tail to plait into the fake one, and it swished its tail and went, whoop.
Oh, somebody ended up with a wig.
Yeah.
Never again.
Someone reminded me of just the other day, actually.
Thanks.
So, Joh, you're famously known for being the hairdresser to the stars. So tell us how this came about and who was your first celebrity client?
I actually don't know how it came about, but my first celebrity client was Elle Macpherson. And
I have her trainers and some of her underwear. Yeah.
Are they good?
Yeah, they're absolutely amazing. They're super soft. I was wearing them on the last podcast show, actually. I haven't got them on today. I should have put them on today.
And then it just sort of snowballed from there. I think you sort of get one client like that, and then it's just like any other business, really. It's word of mouth. It's being in the right place at the right time. I was incredibly ambitious at that stage in my life. I had to be the best. I had to own it, and I had a lot to prove. Yeah. And the nice thing about where I am now is that I don't have anything left to prove, and it's I don't have to drive myself mad anymore.
Yeah. So other celebrities, I know Kylie Minogue.
Yeah.
One that stood out to me actually was Zara Phillips, because she's only just down the road from me.
Yeah.
Princess Diana.
Yes.
Like the names just go on.
Khloe and incredible. Kim Kardashian. Jane Fonda, Olivia Newton-John. I've had some amazing clients to work with.
And I bet that's just taken you to some amazing places all over the world.
Yes.
So tell us
I've worked nearly everywhere in the world. I've worked on fashion shows all over the world. I've travelled with clients all over the world, and it has been really amazing. Because when you're sort of 18 and you're starting out, you don't even realise. Well, I certainly didn't realise what sort of opportunities you don't think of being a hairdresser as it being like this. And I certainly had no roadmap or no, I was just extremely hungry.
Yeah, and just went with the roll of the roller coaster.
Well,
your talent shone through.
If I was going to pinpoint it on any one thing, bullying is probably too strong a word, but I didn't obviously fit in at school. And I was often told that I was never going to make anything of myself because I wasn't great at school and I didn't study. I went to horse shows and rode all weekend. So I didn't do very well in my leaving thing. And I think that burnt some sort of thing into me to prove to everybody that I could do it another way other than going to university or
it sounds
the
really
more
familiar.
traditional ways of being successful. Does it? You the same?
I know, and ditto. And I think that's what's mad about the horse world and the horse addiction that you get when you're younger. I mean, I know so many people that may have not been so good at school, but it doesn't mean that you're not good in other areas of your life. And you've got to embrace your passion. And when you follow your passion and your dreams, then things happen.
And success isn't always measured in dollars earned either. I mean, you can be have a very successful life and be happy with what you've got.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I can completely agree with you. I remember doing year 12 at school and my absolute passion was obviously riding and competing. And so the outlet that I have to get through school was still continuing to compete. And I know so many kids that say, no, I've got to study and I've got to do, and they put their horses aside. But I just know that would never have worked for me. And getting through school and then being able to throw everything I had into what I enjoyed, definitely not so academic. But then when you have a passion, it's incredible how much you can drive into it, isn't it?
100%. And you know what? I often wonder, and still to this day wonder about people, and I'm certainly not having a go at anybody here, but who have no passion. They have no hobby, they have no passion. I don't know what they do all day. And they live in it, and I'm not knocking it a little normal house, but what do you do with all that time that we spend on our horses and on our properties and things, which consume my entire life?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there is always something to do with a horse.
Joh Bailey salon opened in, was it 1985 in Double Bay, which is the year that I was born, let you know. Did you know at the time when you first opened? The year I was born.
You're so young.
Did you know, when you opened the salon, were you aware of how significant it was going to be at the time?
No, but I did know one thing I knew for sure was that it wasn't going to be ordinary. I wanted it. I wanted badly to be the best. I was obsessed, as only a young person can be.
Yeah, that's so strong. It's such a strong story you're putting across here. I love it. I can even hear the passion in your voice as we're just speaking to you. It's so great.
But you know what? People have asked me over and over again what the secret to my success was, and there was no secret. I worked extremely hard. I explored every opportunity. I went for it.
Yeah. Well, because hairdressing has obviously given you connections all over the world that we've just kind of touched on briefly. But what about horses? Are there any experience you can say are totally because of your horse connections?
Well, Zara Phillips definitely would be one of those connections. I actually met her in Bali. She was staying in the villa next to me, and I just introduced myself to her.
Oh, I love it.
And the way I did it was by talking about horses.
Yeah.
And then the next 3 or 4 times that she was in Australia, she booked me to do her hair. I think I went to the Melbourne Cup with her one year, and then we went to the Magic Millions a few times. Because she doesn't come with Mike, and they like having their hairdresser close by in case there's a puff of wind or a deluge of rain. So I went with her.
God forbid.
Oh, that's hilarious. So obviously, once an equestrian, always an equestrian, Joh. So many people have a break from horses during their early part of their adult life, and you start riding again later on, which is, I think, the best part about the sport. You're now a successful businessman and a celebrity as well. So How do you fit it all in with this busy schedule? And when did the horses sort of come back into your life?
Okay, so I did give them up when I was 18 to focus on my career and get it going properly. I went to Sydney Royal and watched Champion Hack every year. That was my one little treat to keep my sort of to keep my appetite wet. And I stayed friends with my horsey friends. Like, I didn't dump them all, but I just didn't have time for it then. So I think that went on until I was about 35, and I was doing this massive wedding for a client who wasn't really a client. They just came because the daughter was getting married. And as we were talking, I told her that I used to have horses, and she owned the best Arabian stud. And when she paid me for the horse, she gave me a little colt, believe it or not. I lived on the 24th floor of an apartment building at the time, so I've got this colt. And I had a friend who had a little farm not far from Sydney, so I asked him if I could put it there. It was a weanling, and I'd never had an Arab or anything. And look, they're not really my sort of horse. They're not really hack material. They're very exotic and pretty and all that, but they're not the sort of horse I would buy. But anyhow, I had it. So as it grew up, I would go out and visit it every weekend and play with it and that. And I could sort of see, this is going to sound a little bit sort of woke, but I could sort of see myself through its eyes. And I think I was kind of losing my way a bit, maybe partying a bit hard. And this, I could see that this little colt was a little bit scared of me. And I thought, I'm gonna come good for you. And so I started showing him. I started showing him at all the big Arab shows. He ended up an Australian champion. I broke him in,
really?
And I rode him, and he won everything under saddle. He won at Sydney Royal. And then I sold him to a little girl, and then I bought, that was the first horse I owned, but I didn't buy it. That was given to me.
Yeah.
And then I bought a big grey thoroughbred, and then I was 35 by this stage, and I got right back into it in the biggest way possible because I had the money by this stage. I could afford to buy a good horse, and I went crazy with the riding outfits, the trail of the car, the horse.
I love it.
Oh, absolutely love it.
Oh,
yeah.
And is this when
all the stuff that I never had as a child, like, because my parents weren't interested in it, they didn't really support it at all. So any of the clothes I had as a child, I bought from working, jobs in supermarkets and things, and they were all secondhand or hand-me-downs, or when you're little you don't really care that much, but not now, baby.
Not now.
Oh my God.
Gone all in and gone all hard. All the best gear.
I just love
it.
I love horse shopping so much. So is this when you then went out of the city and went to buy your first rural property? Is that right?
Well, I kept 2 or 3 horses in the city for quite a few years. Sydney has a place called Centennial Park, which has the most amazing facilities, 2 indoor arenas, like maybe 5 or 6 or more outdoor arenas. It has really good facilities. It's right in the middle of the city. So I kept 2 or 3 horses there for a couple of years, and I had a groom so that I could, work, and I'd just go down and ride, and she would look after them and all that sort of thing. And then it just got too hard. I wanted to live on. And so I sort of thought to myself, look, I've given my business my best shot. So now if I don't make time for me now and do what I want to do, then I'm never going to do it. So I just made that decision once again. Like I decided to give up horses, I made the decision to make time for it. And look, I'm sure you two will both know what it's like to hit the ground running in the morning and go all day, work horses, slip into a quick cocktail party to meet someone, flop into bed and then wake up the next morning back at the stables, and do the whole thing again. And that's pretty much my life.
Oh my God.
That's the dream, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
Absolutely.
Except now I think I've become the person who's looking for the children to ride my horses for me.
Oh, and did you ever think it was the wrong choice and think that you wanted to move back to Sydney, or are you definitely the horse property or horse rider at heart?
Oh no, there's no way I could live in Sydney. I still spend 1 or 2 nights a week here because I try and do my work in blocks so that I can have weekends and things off to go to the shows. But no, I could not live full time in the city. Even though I never lived in the country until I was sort of 40.
Yeah. Yeah, what I love as well is that actually you've gone, now that you've managed to set up your own business and be so successful, you can come back and, as you said, look after yourself and do things that you love and have you time.
Yeah.
Obviously the hairdressing, you absolutely adore that and you have the passion for that. But it's almost like a little life swap to do what you wanted to do when you were a child. And yeah, you've just got 2 lives running there. And it's just amazing that you can do both. Like when people say you can only do one thing, you've managed to do both in your lifetime and very successfully. It's great.
Yeah, thank you.
How did the rest of the world accept you going back into riding again? Because obviously it's a very big difference between the hairdressing world and the riding world. Do they find it strange that you're so passionate about this and you've actually kind of put aside the living in Sydney and the full-time hairdressing, and that you've taken on board the rural lifestyle and the love and the passion?
No, I've only ever had positive feedback about it, and I think it made me a better me, and I think people that know me sort of could see that once I got back into it, I had a bit more purpose and more passion, and nobody sort of. I think I'm pretty sure they didn't see it coming because and then it is funny to go back to something that you haven't done for maybe 15 years as I hadn't even sat on a horse in 15 years, and now all of a sudden I'm riding again. And I got all the best help that I could possibly get because I wanted to do it really, really well. And it is amazing. Like I pretty much relearned the whole thing again, because not that you forget, but it's just different. Riding as an adult is a completely different thing to riding as a child. Because I think when you're a child, and I'm sure you'll both agree with me, well, you do extreme sports because you fly through the air, but I was completely fearless as a child, and I've sort of gained a bit of fear as I've got older. I'm not as gutsy as I once was, and you're not as nimble,
Yeah. It's self-preservation.
So it is different.
Joe?
What's that?
It's self-preservation. We all have self-preservation as we get older. And absolutely, when you see adults coming back into riding that has a similar situation to yours that I will teach, then you do have to teach in a completely different way. It's not like a kid that will, be a bit gun-ho and do it on kind of natural feel and balance. They have no fear. But as you get older, it hurts when we fall off now.
It does. It really does. So that since I came back, I've I've achieved things that I never achieved as a child. Like I've won royal champions, I've won national titles, I've won my, gentleman rider at Royals, things that when I was younger, I used to sort of play around with, but not seriously. So it is good to sort of to do all that stuff that wasn't in my sort of grasp when I was younger.
That's fantastic. And don't you think too that as an adult, when you come back to riding, that you're so much more analytical? So when you're a kid, you kind of fly by the seat of your pants, and when you're an adult, you can really think about it and you're far more analytical, and you really notice the little things that as a kid you just
100%. And also I think you become a bit more strategic as an adult. Like, when you're a kid, I think you give everything a go, but I worked out what was going to suit me and what wasn't, and, how to play the game, let's say, a little bit.
Work out your goals and then work backwards.
Well, there are. I mean, every sport is more than just the sport. It's the it's the thought behind it and you know what I'm
team
saying.
behind you too, isn't it?
Strategy.
And the people that support you. And
Yeah.
like you said, you made sure you got the right help.
Well, look, even sort of footballers, there's a certain amount of politics that comes into a game that looks like it's just whoever gets the ball over the line, but it's not. That it's how they got on the team. It's being put in the team and salary caps and all those things that come into any sporting life. I think comes into horses as well.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? And we have such a fantastic community. We actually did a really great podcast with a friend of mine, Sean Dillon, and he helped to set up the Mardi Gras float. I think it was called Hot to Trot.
I know
and
Sean.
Said that, yeah. So, and obviously, if you came out as a gay man in your teens, like, do you really feel, and Sean did, that the equestrian community is very accepting and it really sort of helped you be who you are and you could be completely comfortable
100%.
in the equestrian community?
Yeah, no, 100%. Because I think for whatever reason, gay men are attracted to horses. I suppose it's that gay men and girls thing that we seem to be attracted to horses. So to come out in a community where you've already got role models and, like even when I was, 10 and 12, some of the men that owned the horses that I was riding for were in gay relationships. Not that I really knew they were then, but, as I got older, I worked it out. And they're still, some of my friends today. But, yeah, it does certainly make it easier because, I'm talking about a completely different era. Like when I was coming out, it was the 80s or actually the late 70s where, you didn't have gay role models and gay uncles and all that sort of thing like boys do today, but there was certainly gay people in the horse riding community. And even though we have different disciplines and I'm a hacky, and even though we have different disciplines and I'm a hacky and you're a show jumper and you're an eventer, I still think it's the whole community though, don't you? Like that we still sort of all pull together.
100%. And that's what I love about the equestrian world, that everyone comes from different walks of life and everyone was so supportive. We had Sean on a podcast, and that's the first time I've chatted to him before as well, and that was really, really interesting. I can't wait to get to Australia.
So he used to live up the road from me. My first rural property was right near his when he first moved over from Western Australia. And I was at the local shops one day, and he just approached me and said that he was doing an EA Mardi Gras float and would I like to go on it?
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, and so did you go?
I know.
Oh,
I thought my luck had completely changed.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
No, I couldn't. I think I was going to be overseas when the actual Mardi Gras was on, so I didn't get to be on it, no. But that's how I met him. And then we became really good friends after that.
Oh, that's great.
He's a great
awesome
person,
guy.
Sean. We've really, really enjoyed speaking to him.
Yeah. Now, Joh, you've just bought yourself a successful show horse and you're back on the circuit. So, like, how does it feel to be back?
Okay, so I'll just tell you a little bit about the last couple of years. My partner Michael, who is the gun show rider of the country, and I'm not just saying that because he's my partner. He really is the best show rider. Well, we bought a horse together called Mikimoto, and we bought him off the track, which is how Michael likes to get them, and he became literally Australia's greatest show horse of all time. So I think we showed him for like 8 years, and he won something like 13 Royal Champions, 5 national titles, 10 Horse of the Years. He won everything. Wow. He was only beaten once in 7 years or 8 years.
That's unbelievable. And he came off the track and you guys sourced him yourself.
He came off the track.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's retired at our house now. Yeah. And he's just an amazing once in a lifetime horse. And just on that, it's any owner's greatest sort of thing to win everything, but it actually becomes quite stressful because the more you win, the greater the stakes. The greater the stakes, the more you don't want to lose because, it's actually a funny thing because you think, oh yeah, we're winning everything. This is great, but it's actually quite. Yes, I don't know if I'm making any sense. It becomes quite stressful.
Yeah, because it puts pressure on you. People then expect, I suppose, they expect you to win. They watch you turn up at the show and go, oh, well, Mikimoto's here, so he's going to win. And then that becomes a horrible type of pressure, I guess, in the show environments, expecting to win rather than thinking, okay, it's sometimes better turning up at a show and not having bad odds and then doing well because then you exceed your own expectations.
Yeah, so my new horse, though, he's not successful at all. He's off the track as well. He hasn't been to a show yet, but he's looking every bit the goods. And Michael's training him for me at the moment. So once he gets all push button, I'll hop aboard.
Fantastic. And spruced up and new tail and a bit of weight on and show shine. And
weight on the horse, rags. Not the jockey.
And how many horses do you have in the stable altogether? Do you have a small team?
Yeah, no, we have 5 in the sort of show team that we're currently showing. That's like the show barn. Then we have another little barn, which is the yearling barn. So that's got the babies in it because we breed a few English riding ponies as well. And then there's brood mares and a stallion. So altogether there's about 30, but only 5 or 10 live in at any one point.
Yeah, but still a fair few mouths to feed, isn't it? And horses to look after.
I mean, not all else, though. Michael has, poop.
Now, I had a silly question that I wanted to ask you, and that is, what is the best shampoo and conditioner to use on my horse's manes and tails? Because I really want to use something that's good for their skin, and also having eventers and show jumpers. So obviously they're going to sweat a lot, and I want to make sure that their skin can still breathe. And I don't want it to be all silicone so that they go all strawy. So what can you recommend?
Okay, so I think Champion Tails is the best shampoo and conditioner. That's what we use. And particularly if you've got a grey horse, they have a really good bluey, silvery one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think does it come out of Western Australia? I think it does.
I think, is it South Australia? It's been around forever.
We have similar things over here. Yeah, we have like a purple shampoo. I use Corandea Martin, and it's really good. But I haven't heard of the Champion. Oh, no. I think it has been
around forever.
Yeah.
We buy it in bulk, like in great big sort of 4 or 5 litre bottles, and it comes in every colour horse there's a shampoo in the same colour. So there's a black, a brown, a chestnut.
Fantastic.
And it just sort of shines it up and, takes away any sort of sun damage. And I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I bet that actually, I didn't think of that. In Australia, of course, you're going to have horses with little highlights in the mane that you don't want for show horses, do you?
No.
Yeah.
So, oh my God.
That's if they got to go outside uncovered.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to make sure they are covered, which I'm sure yours aren't. I'm sure you make sure of that.
I know, that's a thing, Bex. So when I went to the UK...
Are yours wrapped fully suited and booted?
100%.
All of them are, Bex. Yeah, when I went to the UK, I had the white cotton hood rug and tail bag sets. And I remember that there was a lady that was feeding the horses in the barn really early and it was dark. And she said when she saw my horse put its head over the stable door, she thought it was a ghost because she'd never seen a horse with this full white cotton sets of rugs on. So it was quite unfamiliar. But yeah, we have them covered from head to toe. And I just can't deal with a tail that's got sun damage on it. They've got to be black. They've got to be, in the tail bag. They look fantastic. So... You got any other tips, Joe, for fantastic turnout for manes and tails?
For the black ones, it's a men's product. I can't remember what it's called, though. It's as cheap as anything, but it does the best black tail. Just for men, it's called. Just for men.
Really? Fabulous.
You get it at the supermarket.
Jotting down these notes, listeners.
Yep. From the best. Absolutely. Oh, no, that's great. Well, I think that is absolutely I think great to end on a fantastic tip. And Joh, we have thoroughly enjoyed having a chat with you. It's been so interesting to hear about your, constant passion for horses and how that I think anybody that really loves horses can come back to them at any time of their life. So thank you so much for joining us. And with that,
100%.
I'll do
Oh,
a
no,
little
thanks for having
closing
me. I've
here.
had the best time with you girls.
Oh, look, come back. I think I'm going to have to catch up with you in person and do some plaiting or something and have a gin and tonic over some plaiting and false tails. But and Bex,
Can
when you
do.
come out to Australia,
I love that your horses have got their tails coloured.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I did a little bit of showing when I was younger, and it's never left me. And I think the first thing that you do when you trot into a dressage arena is you're judged on what you look like, and if the horse looks amazing and you can follow it up with that performance, then it's always a good start. So that was my thought.
Look, it's true. I think all humans' eyes are drawn to something sparkly and pretty. And if you can make your horse sparkle and look pretty in something that's being judged on, not the rail falling down, as in dressage and hacking, then you're well and truly on the way if you can grab the judge's attention.
I was going to say, hold up. I'm just going to agree to disagree here, because my show jumping horses actually are turned out top tip, beautifully every show, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Make sure they're shiny with the toes painted and all of that before you go in the ring. So at least if I do have a rail, well, at least they look pretty.
Exactly.
Yours do look beautiful.
That's exactly right.
Oh, well, thank you, lovelies. I'll do a closing here. Unfortunately, we could chat for ages, but this has been the Equestrian Experience with myself, Amanda Ross, my co-host, Bex Mason, and this episode's guest, Joh Bailey. To send in your questions for our up-and-coming episodes, enter our competitions and access our other episodes, be sure to visit the equestrianexperiencepodcast.com. You can also follow us at Amanda Ross Equestrian and Bex Mason SJ, and find Joh at www.johbailey.com.au or at Joh Bailey Official. So until next time, have a great equestrian experience.